Welcome to the Fortcast. I'm Kyle Fields.
And I'm Dan Trink, and this is Fortitude Fundamentals. I'm a little bummed that Freddie doesn't know my last name.
Last names don't matter.
Oh, is that right?
No.
We live in like 8-person communities now.
We should just go by the rules of Iceland.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Just
your
name it
last
after
name
your dad or whatever
is really your first name plus son or daughter.
Yeah, there's a lot of cultures that do that, actually.
It's awesome. It makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
And then you also know who everybody's dad is.
Right.
That's how you can keep track of, making sure you're not getting incested.
Right. Or if you're out late misbehaving, that people will be like, hey, I can tell your dad.
But then
I know who he is.
Your last name is different than your brothers and sisters. Because you're either Samuel's son or Magnus' daughter or Samuel's daughter.
Samuel, right. That's true.
Right? It'd be Samuel's son or Samuel's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Thor's son or Thor's daughter.
Right.
That's how they do it, right?
I think that is how they do it.
So if you're Thor and you have a son, it's going to be their first name, whatever you call them.
Magnus. They're from Iceland.
Thorson.
Right.
And that's their name. Or if you have a daughter, it's Thor's daughter.
Right. Still Magnus, of course.
Magnus, Thor's daughter.
Right.
Makes way more sense to me.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be hard to have that catch on in the U.S., I think.
Yeah, it's too late.
It's too late. It's too far gone.
Yeah. Nah, we're just going to go with the lineage, last names. Same as how far back do you go in your lineage? Like, your any of your great grandparents?
I don't.
Do you know of them?
Very little. It's because my parents immigrated to the U.S., so I don't like that way far back.
Yeah,
stuff
let's get some background on Dan Trink's family lineage. So your parents immigrated to the U.S.
My parents immigrated to the
U.S.
U.S.
They're not native.
No, we're the first
America.
generation.
And where were they born?
So my father was born in Poland. Mm-hmm. My mother was born in Israel, but they immigrated to the U.S. from Israel. So my father moved to Israel when he was 3. This was like right after World War II when Israel became a Jewish state in 1947, and post-war Jews all moved there, and my grandparents were part of that movement.
You're right. Your grandparents were in like the Holocaust.
Yeah. My grandparents were in concentration camps and that whole thing.
And they, when they got out, they went to Israel?
Yeah, I mean, there were some stops along the way. So my dad's parents were from Poland. My mother's parents were from Hungary. Neither of those did too well by the Jews during World War II. So
your mother's parents and father's parents both in the Holocaust?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then your mother and father met in Israel?
My mother and father met in Israel. They immigrated to the U.S. in the mid-'60s, and they got married here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many of your grandparents did you know?
I knew all my grandparents.
Wow.
So I still have 2 grandparents that are alive. Very elderly, but they're alive. My mother's parents are both still alive. So I see them and speak to them regularly.
What kind of stuff do you ask them about when you talk to them?
Now, not much. Because all they do is complain about medicine and being old. But, it's funny.
Do they ask about your life?
Do they ask about my life?
Yeah.
As long as, my son is doing well, that's all they care about.
Yeah.
And of course, they're old Jews, so the business has to be doing well.
Yeah. Do they ask you about the business?
All the time. As long as it's doing well. They have no idea what I do, but as long as I'm paying rent, they're happy.
Yeah. They're happy you're still in business.
They're like, now people want like work to be meaningful and have, enhance their life and work-life balance. They come from a thing as like, do whatever you need to do to be able to eat and afford a house. It doesn't matter what that is. So it's a little bit of a different generational thing.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, who's still alive, was like a machine operator for his whole life. My other grandfather was like a watchmaker. Like, these were not like, these were people who just worked to survive, post-war. It's just a very different mentality.
So they're pumped that you have your own business, that you're you're making it happen.
Yeah. And they were
awesome.
They were all pretty, like my dad owned his own business, even though it was like a factory business, but like he took what he knew and really elevated it.
Yeah.
Their other son was a jeweler who had a store on 47th Street here in New York. So like, their kids made it. Like,
yeah,
totally. Like American dream, that whole thing. Like work their asses off for it, but like made it happen.
Does it motivate you?
Oh yeah, dude, it's just
Like
part
personally?
of who yeah, for sure. It's part of who I am. Like a work ethic thing, I think is definitely
When
like
the
genetic.
position you're in compared to your parents and your grandparents, like you're in this amazing position.
sure.
This amazing opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got to go to college. My dad only went to school up to the 8th grade. Mm-hmm. It's a big difference there.
And you have these skills. You have all kinds of awesome skills.
Yeah.
You can communicate really well within the culture that you're in.
Oh yeah.
You have
huge advantages.
You're fit. You're in great shape. You
Yeah.
get people's attention.
Yep. Laid off the cigarettes. Nobody else in my family laid off the cigarettes.
You smoked?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying. My
You
father
didn't
smoked.
start
My
smoking.
uncle smoked.
Everybody
yeah.
else smoked.
Yeah. So there's like more of an education there, right?
Yeah.
Like
You had
it's
some steps up.
Yeah. Yeah. But they I talk about the immigrant mentality. Like that's where I learned it from. They've just these were very hardworking, very driven people.
Do you feel that you have the immigrant mentality in yourself, even though you aren't maybe personally, but do you feel like you've got it? Do you bring it?
Totally. But I
Yeah.
also think I don't, it's not as, that axe is not as sharp with me as it was with them. Like
Yeah.
it's in my mind and I want that kind of work ethic and I think I have it to some degree, but it's I think the further away you get from the origins of it, probably the harder it is to actually emulate.
But you're an entrepreneur at spirit, like at heart. I don't think you even though you had a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
you were not built for it. By the way, I got back on Twitter today.
Oh, nice.
I reopened it and I posted a poll. But I saw the last tweet that you posted. It was from 2007.
Oh, nice.
And it just said, "Making it through another Monday."
Nice. I like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. Someone's got
drink.
a case of the Mondays.
Dan Drink. the Twitter handle. Go
Yeah.
look it up.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I just so I got my Trink Fitness account got permanently suspended
From Twitter?
from Twitter.
Were
I didn't
you,
use
were
it.
you ever pretty active on it?
I had a huge following for a while,
Yeah.
but I was never that active on
Yeah, I
it.
feel like I remember that.
I had 11,000 followers or something.
This is a different account. The
So now-
2007.
Yeah.
I think this was probably
Right.
a pre-fitness account.
So now I opened up a new account this week.
You did.
That's
You did
Dan
too.
_Trink.
Sweet. All right.
I have
you gotta-
one follower. I don't even know who they are,
Ooh,
but thank you.
now
sir,
you have 2.
or ma'am.
It's going to be me
Oh, nice.
after this podcast.
Yeah. So
I
I've
get back to
been
my phone.
actually fairly actively posting on there and then bringing some of it over to Instagram.
What kind of stuff do you post?
Well, this is interesting. This is so one of the things I posted this week was, it's just thoughts about mindset or fitness or nutrition. But this
Yeah.
was, if you could do a training program 3 times a week or 6 times a week, and it costed the same and yielded the same result, which would you choose? So I was asking people. And then I said to think about it for a second before they answered. So same cost. You can come in 3 times a week. You can come in 6 times a week. Doesn't matter how often you come in. At the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, end of your training life, you will get the same results.
And the
Which would
result's
you
the same.
choose?
Result is
Same
the
result.
same. You feel the same way.
Yeah. You don't have to pay more for the 6
Your
times a
body
week.
is the same way. Your mind is the same way.
Yeah.
The result is the same way.
Yeah.
So it seems logically
Yeah.
that I would choose the 3 days a week.
Yeah. I didn't, to be fully transparent, I didn't really define what the same result meant. And I think people
But you
thought,
said the same result.
yeah, I think people thought physical results probably. Yeah, I was expecting a lot of people to be 3 times a week people, just for the fact of it's time efficient, right? And everybody's time is a huge commodity. Everybody's trying to get time back, right? And I think that's one of the things we talk about with the gym is what you could do in 3 hours here is more than most people do at 6 hours on their own. But a surprising amount of people chose 6 times a week.
So I think I know why.
Okay, lay it on me.
I think people fundamentally do not understand what a program is. I think the whole world has been indoctrinated with workouts. And the more workouts, the better. Give me 10 workouts a day. I will choose the ones that I want. It doesn't, the concept of a program, the concept of no, you need to do a course of this much stuff over the week. And this is the right amount of work, reps, sets, rest that's going to get you the results best has been completely lost. And people just want volume.
Yeah.
They've gotten Netflix with 27,000 titles to choose from.
Right.
And they can't pick any, but they feel better that they have access
Right.
to these 27,000 titles. So it's messed with the whole idea of programming.
Yeah.
So when you ask like what people want, they want more options. Give me as many options as possible. But with all those options, you completely lose the idea of a program.
Right.
Programs are gone in the way that people understand them.
Yeah, but that's a shame because the program is what drives the results, right?
Yeah.
Like, workouts are just part of a program. But if you just have workouts randomly strewn in there, like, it doesn't work. Like, they need to have sense and logic and flow and a continuity and a progression. So if that's the case, then people are chasing the wrong thing.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that like one program works. There's multiple programs that work, but it has to be systemized like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we do?
I don't know.
How do we fix that problem?
I don't know, because I also saw...
Because we deliver programs,
yeah.
But how do we change the way people think about programs?
I don't know. Because I think people, when it comes to the fitness space, they are paying as much for the experience. And listen, here's the flip side. Some people, just their anxiety, their mental health, all that other stuff, they feel like if they are training every day, like that helps with those things. They also want to be around their friends or like-minded people more often, especially now when people feel more isolated. So I think there's more going on here, more reasons that people want to come to the gym every day than just like, I want abs. Like, if I can get you abs in 3 hours a week, or I can get you abs in 6 hours a week, see, that I think would be a different question.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's much to do, but even like there was an example that someone brought up who was a graphic designer, and he was like, okay, I'm going to charge you, my team works on this, and the design to come up with your branding package is $18,000. Do you care if I do it in an hour and it costs $18,000? Or do you care if it takes me a month and it costs $18,000? And most people, if it took an hour, did not feel good about paying the $18,000, even though they got it faster. Because they're like, no, I want to make sure you're grinding on it and I'm getting my money's worth.
Yes.
I
think that's it, man.
Yeah.
It's how people's minds are situated with value and price and what things should cost.
Yeah.
And it's people don't want to realize or address that like prices are made up.
Yeah.
Prices are not set based on how much work or effort goes into something.
Yeah.
Like prices are just, what will you pay for it? That's it. I mean, think of cell phone providers or like providing cellular service. It costs like less than 1 cent per customer to like keep someone's cellular service on. But they're going to charge you $70 a month. Where'd they pick the $70?
Yeah.
It's just what you'll pay for it.
Right.
Insurance, same thing. I mean, of course, there's some risk calculation in there.
Sure.
But it's it's maybe hundreds of times multiples over what it actually costs them compared to what they're charging you.
Yeah.
Coke, same thing. A can of Coke is going to cost like 7 cents to make. But, they're going to charge, and depending on, are you in a movie theater? Are you at McDonald's? Are you at a vending machine? Where you're at? It's all just made up. Right. And it's all set based on what will you pay for it.
Yeah. Or in the more dangerous, at least in our world, is where it's sold as a commodity. And basically when new players come onto the scene, they see they're like, all right, we're opening up a gym. Let's see what other people are charging for this, regardless of what value we bring, whether it's higher or lower. So if everybody else, this guy's charging $75 a week, this guy's charging $100 a week, this guy's charging $125 a week. Well, the industry average is $100. We're going to make ourselves look good and price it a little bit lower by make it 90, because that's what people are willing to buy. And that is just a quick race to the bottom. That is where you end up with Blink telling you it's $12 a month and Planet Fitness telling you it's $10 a month, and nobody getting anything out of it besides a cheap price.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the dangerous way of looking at
that's when you're in
training
trouble.
Programs. Yeah, well, we're in trouble as an industry if that's how we go about it.
I see that. So we're going into a recession, right?
Sure.
A recession is absolutely coming.
Right.
And a recession in the sense it's going to be harder to borrow money. It's going to be harder for stock prices to like stay high and keep companies afloat. You're going to have to like make money. You're going to have to be a good quality business to stay in business. And it's not going to be, and generally people are going to be more fearful. But if you're confident, you would set your prices higher, right?
Yeah.
So if you go into the same industry, but you go in with the confidence of like, no, my shit is better. Like my product is better. I'm going to be able to deliver results way more reliably in a way that people are going to enjoy, and they're going to be able to do it longer, enjoy it longer, pay longer. I'm going to charge more for this product. And that's the right way to do, but it takes confidence in your product to do that. So if you're underpricing, it just means you're not confident in what you're doing.
Correct.
Or you're less confident that you can deliver compared to the industry or compared to another.
Right.
And we fall into that category when we were new. You don't know, you know, you get that confidence over time, delivering results like directly to people over time.
Yeah. And I think if you go to business school, they probably tell you to do exactly this, right? Like go out, see the market, see what the market will bear. But I think that's a mistake. I think the key is if you create great value for people, like in our example, like most of the people that we tend to attract are people who've done other fitness things. These are not brand new people who are like, well, I don't know, but let me just pick a price that I can afford, right? These are people who've done group fitness or done personal training or done something else. They've paid prices. If we can provide value and be like, hey, listen, we can solve this for you better than, clearly this is important to you. You've tried a bunch of things. Clearly those things have not delivered for you. You haven't found the right fit. If you value this and I could provide the right fit for you, you'll pay me more.
Well, it's worth more.
It
should be worth more. And
you should pay
on top
more.
of that, I'm going to spend more money to get the good results. I'm going to spend more on coaches. I'm going to spend more on facilities, and I'm going to spend more on time and figuring all this out and equipment. And I'm going to like do all this because I need to get you the result. But in order to do that and to run a business, I'm going to have to charge more.
Yeah. But I think that's a little different than like the cell phone thing where it's just like, well, how many asses can we get in our seats, right? Like all cell phone service is the same for the most part, I'm assuming, right? Oh boy, the cops are coming. They don't like this. They
don't like this conversation.
So right, like all cell phone service is technically the same or whatever. And it's just like, well, where can we price it the highest while attracting the most people and just getting the most butts in the seats? I think with what we do is, I think we're just a little bit more invested in the actual outcomes, right? Like, I think if we could just charge people and it didn't matter, like we had the only game in town, every other gym imploded and people need to get their pump on, so they come to us and we charge them whatever we want. I don't think we would feel good about that. And there's some businesses that are just like actual commodities that are designed to do that, right? Like, can we just get what is the highest price we can get for electricity?
Well, if you are Planet Fitness, and you kind of have, an unlimited amount of memberships that you could theoretically sell. It's just volume.
Yeah. And that's the game they're in.
Yeah. We have a very limited supply. That's a different game that we're in. It's like extremely limited supply.
Well, if we had an unlimited supply, we wouldn't be able to provide the value.
Right. Now, but that is like that's a good business when you have an unlimited supply and really high margins, like a cell phone, like insurance.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not saying that those aren't good businesses.
Right.
They are definitely good businesses. They're just not our business. But you can't argue with it. Like insurance is the best business in the world, I think. Like
you can't beat it.
Charge huge amounts of money. You collect it all up front. When someone needs it, you could be like, I'm not sure.
I don't know if this is exactly what we agreed upon.
I don't know if I'm going to pay for that car accident. I don't know if I'm going to pay your hospital bill. Let me take a look at it, right? So it's a huge, that's a great business. I'm going to collect your money and maybe I'll come through in our agreement.
Can we build insurance into the gym? So we're going to sell you insurance. If this doesn't work out, if you don't get in shape, we'll give you your money back.
Right. Maybe.
Do you think people would buy it?
Maybe. Yeah, I think people like guarantees.
How do you think that would feel? All right. We're selling you a 16-week gym membership program. Okay. What's your target? You want to lose 20 pounds. All right, deal. So for an extra 1,000, we're going to sell you insurance that if you don't lose 20 pounds, you get your money back.
Right. But then here's the thing. That's great. That's fair. But before we give you the money back, we have to do an assessment of if you actually followed all the terms and rules of what we asked.
Right. That's the kick.
Right. So
Right.
like, if
You'd have to create some sort of
right.
protocol
Yeah.
to make sure they actually showed up to the gym, ate
Right.
what they were supposed to eat, rested when they were supposed to rest.
Right. And they had 3 bites of pizza 8 weeks
They
in, and it's like, that's it. It's null and
they
void. You get
didn't
nothing
do
back.
that stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it would kind of have to be like that, which makes it, you know, a little bit more gimmicky than realistic, you know?
Yeah, I don't want to be in the insurance agency or insurance business. It's as good of a business as it is. Like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of great businesses out there. It doesn't mean it's for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else is new, man? How are you? You had a sandwich earlier. How are you eating these days?
Oh, I'm eating the same as I always do. My weight is staying exactly the same as it always does.
So talk to me about like your own personal nutrition.
Me?
Yeah. Like when you think about food for yourself, how do you think about it? How do you make decisions? You're a man of routine. How did you arrive to those routines?
Yeah.
Do you make any adjustments these days? Like, is there room? That you're room for improvement?
Yeah. So here's the thing I'll say to start off, which is the general philosophy.
Okay.
Because I don't want people to take this and run with it and then not get the same results and be like, Dan's lying about what he does.
Okay.
There's a couple of things. One, I carry a lot of muscle mass, which allows me a lot of leeway that most people do not get.
How's that work? Like explain the how you get more leeway in your diet because of how much muscle that you have.
Right.
I mean, I think that's something that's like pretty interesting.
So let's just, I mean, we have to make some assumptions here, and we're just going to keep it very simple.
Okay.
Let's assume that muscle mass is something that you want. Okay.
Okay.
And fat mass is something that you don't want.
Okay.
Now, obviously you don't want to have too much muscle mass, and obviously you don't want to have too low of a fat mass, but like, let's take the extremes out of it. Essentially, changing your body is much harder than keeping it where it is. Taking, again, the extremes out of it. If you're at 2% body fat, keeping it there is very hard. But if you're at a moderate body fat percentage, that is way easier than losing body fat. If you are at a certain muscle mass percentage, that is easier than gaining gaining muscle mass. But essentially, like homeostasis, or staying in the same, if things are running well, tends to be the priority for most people if they're in like a normal range of weight. My muscle mass happens to stay high, and my body is not prioritizing losing it, right? I'm not starving myself. I'm lifting weights regularly. I'm putting a stimulus on it. That muscle mass and then my overall body size just chews through a lot of calories. And when you have a lot of calories available to you, you have a lot more leeway in where those calories come from and the amount that you can have. Like, to paraphrase one of my education mentors, John Berardi, like the person who takes in and utilizes the most calories, regardless of the sum game, wins. So if someone takes in and uses 5,000 calories, they end up with way better body composition than someone who takes in and uses 1,000 calories.
Even if the net is the same.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I am at that.
So that's kind of like, if you're playing a game.
Yeah.
Of like assuming that you get to a level of where you want to be, right? Like, so taking out, I want to lose 20 pounds, gain 20 pounds. Let's say you arrive to your destination. The game is, once you're there, how many calories can you eat and utilize regularly at homeostasis?
Yes. Yes. This is for body composition. I would argue that maybe for health or even mental acuity, that might not be the case. But if we're just talking about body composition.
But just body composition, that person's going to win.
Correct. That person's going to outperform.
Because they're going to be doing the most, and they're going to have the most nutrients at their body's disposal.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to have a lot to sift through, pick from, a lot of nutrients. But they're doing so much that they're actively using a lot of tissue and, getting a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Right. Which is also just generally good for you.
Yeah. And you just have more, like you just have more leeway.
Yeah.
And
that's where that leeway comes from.
If you go to the Gap and you have $1,000, or you go to the Gap and you have $4,000, well, you can just choose. If you have the $4,000, you can just choose whatever it is you want. Whereas $1,000, if you need certain outfits, like, well, now I got to take a look and see what these things cost me.
And that muscle mass, that's just going to increase your metabolism regardless,
right?
Whether you're moving, not moving, like everything, just the baseline gets elevated.
Correct. Any added, like the more weight you are, the higher your calorie count will be. But obviously preferential to muscle mass because that's what you want. That's like kind of usable tissue as far as like activities and things. Where fat mass is really just it's just a storage system for energy, right? So, so I say this all with just like what's working for me is not going to work for most people.
That's setting the stage of like where you're at.
Right.
Okay.
So
you carry a lot of muscle.
You're
able to get away with a lot.
I'm getting away with a lot. My body fat percentage is relatively low, particularly for somebody my age and my size. Mm-hmm. So I'm in a good spot to begin with.
Right.
That's kind of the key. I start off every morning with a half a cup of cooked oatmeal with about an ounce of walnuts and 3 scrambled eggs. So I didn't take, the eggs are fairly new, maybe within like the last year. 6
You used
months
to just have the oatmeal, and the walnuts?
Yeah. So I added the eggs because I think protein in the morning is good. It also I think protein in the morning does set the stage for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. So if you're someone who finds yourself like with weird cravings or you overeat at night, which is a lot of the population, having protein in the morning really solves that problem. Now, when I was getting into this shape, my morning breakfast was way more higher fat and more protein. So I was eating a buffalo burger in the morning with half an avocado and a handful of macadamia nuts. So this was like a high calorie, high fat breakfast. And that helped me put on a lot of the size that I have now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So high calorie.
Very high calorie.
Low carbohydrate.
Very low carbohydrate.
Would you have carbohydrates throughout the day?
I probably was too low carb for too long.
Okay.
But yes, I would have my carbohydrates would more surround the workout window.
Got it. Okay. So you're timing those out.
But right now, about half a cup of oatmeal with walnuts and 3 eggs with like literally like avocado oil cooking spray, nothing else.
Okay. That's meal one. That's like before you leave for the day.
Yeah. That's usually
pretty early on. Is that like around the first thing you do?
Yeah. I mean,
pretty much.
Yeah. First thing is like I start with coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah. So I start my day pretty early, but I have this breakfast probably around 7.
Okay.
Yeah. Then around 11, I have a sandwich that I bring in. Mm-hmm. That's like deli meat, cheese, protein enriched bread.
And you prepare
mustard.
this for yourself every morning?
Yes.
Before you like come in?
Correct. This started really as a cost saving method.
Okay.
Because in New York City, buying food out all the time can get a little pricey.
Yep.
And I'm just someone who can deal very well with consistency.
Is it always the same sandwich?
Yeah, always the same.
What is this again?
It's like ham, provolone, mustard.
Ham, provolone, mustard.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Not too much, like 2 slices of ham.
Not kosher.
Not kosher. Sorry, Mom. The cheese on there doesn't help either. So that's breakfast number 2. Or then that's usually like 10:30, between 10:30 and 11:30
breakfast
typically.
too.
And then with that, I have an apple.
Yep.
Year round now that you can get them all the time. Then usually I'll train in the middle of the day and I'll have creatine during training, creatine and water.
Which is not there's no calories in creatine.
No calories.
Right? That's a supplement.
Yeah.
That's going to help you hydrate your muscles, say a little bit better.
Hydrate your muscles. At some extremes, there's some cognitive benefits, but mostly it helps enhance strength and muscle mass. It's pretty effective for that.
Right.
So I have that. Then I'll usually get something, usually around like between 3 and 4.
There's a pretty good gap from your second breakfast to your...
Yeah, because the training is in there.
Right.
So I'll have that. That could be like a mixed salad with some protein in it, or like rice and vegetables and meat or something like that. And then usually at night I'll have like some either salad and protein, like a pretty lean cut of pork with salad, or that same thing with rice. Tends to be the salad more on days that I don't train, for sure, or how big my my afternoon meal is. But I kind of self-regulate. Like I kind of know what I've done during the day, and if I've overdone it with some bullshit, I'll like bring it back. And that's like where most days are. And then if I want to eat something, like if it's Saturday night and I want to eat pizza, or I went to my niece's graduation this weekend and there was a Mr. Softy truck and I had some ice cream. Like I don't even think about it. I don't worry about it. I just do it.
And your mindset around eating, like when you're eating this way most days, is it coming from a place of, okay, I'm happy with the work that I've done and the place that I've gotten to, and I want to maintain that. Like I want to keep this going. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. And I mean, there's some times where I'll like give myself a little bit more leeway because I'm not that concerned. And sometimes where I'll tighten it up because, I just want to work on body composition at that time or whatever. But I tend to stay in a pretty tight radius. And, there was a while where I was way more strict on my diet because the fat guy in me was like way closer to the surface, right? Like I wasn't that far away from it.
Yeah.
And now it's far enough in the past that I like don't obsess about it quite as much. So I give myself a little bit more leniency, but honestly, I like feel the best when I eat with regularity and with like real thought process. And honestly, I think a lot of people do it for body composition results and all that other stuff. But like, I think it's just healthy, it's healthy to know that you're getting like a good mix of nutrients, that you're not like yo-yoing your calories up and down, that you're not putting these perceived stresses on your body and your digestive tract. You're figuring out what works for you and you kind of stick with it for the most part. I think there's something like really helpful to that from like kind of a health and regularity standpoint.
And I think you have to feel good about it.
Yeah.
Like being the person that's eating it, what I think part of what you're talking about is like, you feel good about the routine. You feel good about the nourishment that it's giving you. And what it is delivering both as a result, but also in how you feel.
Yeah.
Like mentally and in your performance.
Totally. I want to feel like, a little bit of it is control, right? This is like a thing that you can control. I think there's a lot in your health and your fitness and how you react. Like I'm a guy who can look at weights and put on muscle mass. I'm just like, I have that. I'm not a guy who can like just shed fat that easily. But the nutrition's in your control, right? Like that other stuff is not. So I think you just gotta like kind of control the things that are in your control, and nutrition and how you fuel your body in kind of a healthy way, not overdoing it, not underdoing it, is just, something that ideally you work towards getting into your control.
Yeah. And take it as a skill and a process.
Yeah. I mean, how about you? You are just someone who I think has had like, where I'm talking like regularity, but I'm a little bit more fast and loose. You've gone through some periods where it's like every nutrient is accounted for, and you get some joy out of that.
I love control.
Yeah.
Well, because I've been able to experience a whole bunch of different body types, and my body responds pretty well to change in general. And, I can get really muscular. I can get really lean. I can get strong. I can get fast, and I can change. And I think all of those things like work together because they all kind of stay with me to a degree, or almost like a set point that my body's like, it's been here, so it remembers how to get here. It's done this, so it remembers how to get here. And then I've also done like 10-day fasts to just give myself like crazy perspective on like what food is and like how much you actually like need. Like when you think about like need, like what you really, like what it really does for you, how powerful your body is, and how many calories that you just keep on you. Like we have a remarkable amount of calories. Even if you're lean, you have a remarkable amount of calories at your disposal to keep you alive for a really long time. So like eating is not necessary for a while. Like you can go a lot longer than you think.
Right.
But I love the element of control with nutrition in that it can impact and change you faster than anything else you can do. Really quickly.
For sure. I would say I would take it one step further, and like, I've worked with a lot of people, and I think that you have the ability to manipulate your body composition through nutrition like top 1% of people that I've seen. Do you think that is like just like a genetic thing where you're just very responsive to that stuff? Or do you think you just have a very high knowledge of what are the things, the levers that you can push and pull to get that result?
I mean, I think first my beliefs around them are like very flexible, really like where a lot of people just believe like if I don't have a meal or just eat this way for particular, like that all the wheels are going to fall off or terrible things are going to happen. Or if I do this, or if I rock the boat too much, I just don't, I have full on beliefs that I have the potential to turn myself into whoever I want to be. If I want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, if I want to be Eliud Kipchoge, like both are options.
Right.
If I have enough time and I eat a particular way
right.
for long enough. And I really do believe that both are fully options. So having the belief that like that both are possible, one gives me the confidence to actually like get really precise and to follow through on things. I probably have some genetic component too, probably just lucked out. It's hard to say though. But I think the thing that holds people back is the belief.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason people don't do anything.
Right.
Is that they really don't believe that whatever it is that they want or would like to have, they don't really believe they could have it.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people, because a lot of people like talk about genetic, like you know, with me with like putting on muscle mass, like I feel like that's just a genetic propensity. I had big arms when I was like 18 years old. I didn't train at all. It was just like kind of who I was. But I will say this, I think genetics are true. Like they are definitely a factor. I have yet to see anyone reach their genetic limit in anything.
Right.
So it's like,
and even the genetic thing, like, dude, you sleep well. Like you've always put yourself to bed. You prioritize sleep. Yeah. Like it's part of your personality.
Yeah.
How much does that affect the amount of muscle that you tend to hold versus somebody who like can't sleep ever, gets like 4 hours, or like doesn't have good sleep patterns? There's all kinds of things that like affect. I've seen the way that you lift and the way that you move. You use your body really well. You don't skip steps. You feel your muscles when they're moving. You do that naturally.
Yeah.
You do it well. Not everybody has a natural proclivity to do that.
Right.
There's a lot of people that sort of just rush through the movement or try to do as little as possible to get to the end. Like that's not how you
trying
train.
to survive.
So there's so many factors that are more than just your genetics. If you really look at it, if you dig deep into it. And I think the whole genetics thing is like just a non-issue. I mean, I'm not saying it's nothing. It's just, it's not useful to think about because there's so many actionable things that you can actually affect. How much sleep you're getting, what are you eating, what are your behaviors, how are you moving, how are you lifting, how are you thinking? All these things, they play a meaningful part in the person that you're going to become. But you have to take them seriously and focus on those things and not focus on the stuff that's outside of your control, like whatever genetics do affect.
Right.
You.
Right. And like I said, you know, the genetics might be real, but I've yet to see anyone hit their limit. So you can keep working on it.
Exactly. There's still room for improvement in all kinds of areas and all kinds of things that you can do.
Yeah. I mean, you take a guy like Michael Phelps, like you would think here's a guy who's kind of, you know, push the boundaries of what he can do. And then every 4 years, somehow he managed to do a little bit more.
He would come back and do more, win 20 more medals and break all his records.
You know, it's like, it's out there.
It's just time and investment and believing that it can pay off.
Yeah.
Just taking it seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
Doing what works.
Yeah.
Good place to end.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, man. I'm Kyle Fields.
I'm Dan Trink.
And we're from The Fort, where we take training seriously.
And we do what works.
And we'll see you on another podcast.
Next time.
Later.
Bye.